as I called it, because unfortunately, a lot of my constituency was blown away. So it was not a very peaceful constituency period. But there's quite a lot of disaster and sort of unhappiness with people's roofs blowing off and sort of informal. Want to just reiterate, in case we forgot in the 3-week break from Microsoft Teams, that the cardinal rules for WCPP online conferencing is that please, participants, if you could all mute yourselves and only unmute yourself when you are speaking. You're welcome to use the camera when you are speaking as well, so that members of the public can see you, because this is being broadcast on YouTube. And if you could please identify yourself by raising your hand, or if you could, that doesn't work if you don't have that functionality. If you're on a mobile phone, you can use the chat function for points of order as well. And if that doesn't work, please unmute yourself and just tell me who you are, and we will recognize you. So members, it is advisable when we don't need to have all of our video on, we can switch it off to make sure that sort of people don't get too much data going to sometimes difficult connections, especially in this weather. And also, if you could wait just 0.5 seconds before speaking, just to ensure that your video and the mute is already on so we can hear you. Members, I'm now going to ask that the committee just introduce themselves for the record. And we'll start with Member Mackenzie. Or I'll start, and then we'll move on to Member Mackenzie, and then the other members can just introduce themselves. And then I'll also ask that everybody else on the call also introduce yourself and just tell us where you're from. So I'm Gillian Bosman, and I chair the standing committee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ricardo Mackenzie.
Good morning, Chairperson and colleagues. My name is Wendy Philander.
Good morning, Chair, everyone. My name is Ayanda Barnes.
Thank you, members. Are we able to move on to our WCPP staff?
Morning, Chair. My name is Nomonde Jamze.
Okay, if there's nobody else from the WCPP staff, parliamentary staff, can we have those who are our guests, if they could please introduce themselves?
Good morning, members. My name is Provincial from Auditor General Office.
Sorry, sir, if you could just perhaps repeat that and just speak a little bit louder. I didn't hear that.
My name is Tepom Shlomi from the Office of the Auditor General.
Okay.
Good morning, Chair and members.
Are there any other guests?
Good morning, Chair and members. Kululu Namase from the Office of the Auditor General.
Thank you very much, and welcome to our colleagues from the AG. Is there anyone else that I can't see that haven't been able to introduce themselves? No? Thank you very much. Are there any apologies, Nomonde? Just noting that I received an apology from Minister Shana Fernandez. She said she will try and attend for the first 45 minutes of the meeting, but then she has to attend to cabinet obligations. but she also alerted me this morning that she has load shedding and she's going to try to find a mobile internet connection and join us. And I suspect if she's not here, that she's probably been held up by load shedding. But are there any other apologies?
It's yes, Chair. It's from Member Makamba Boja. She's attending the Standing Committee on Local Government.
Okay, and she didn't arrange an alternate with Member Al-Jamaa?
No, Chair. Apparently she's a permanent member of the Standing Committee on Local Government.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just have to check whether Member Brunkhuis is still a permanent member of our committee. I can't remember the last ATC, but I did see in the annual report that the secretary sent that Member Makamba Boycha was listed as a permanent member of this committee.
Chair, I'm having an apology for Member Paku for us. She will join us shortly. She had a doctor's appointment at 8:30, so she'll be here any minute, I assume.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Member Barnes. So Member Baku Force will join us. Members and colleagues, the purpose of this meeting is for us to receive a briefing by the South African Social Security Agency on the impact of alleged irregular expenditure at SASSA in the Western Cape. The meeting was scheduled after SASSA briefed the National Assembly and provided an outline of what I would say was their abysmal financial standing and the utterly poor management of human resources. We then asked SASSA to come and tell us about the alleged 1 billion rand that was spent on irregular expenditure. So it was this reason the committee resolved to invite SASSA to request them to brief us on the impact of this alleged irregular expenditure, specifically on the Western Cape, because we have more than 1.3 million people in the Western Cape that are reliant on SASSA for support. Ms. Jamklet, do we have anybody from the South African National Security Agency, Social Security Agency, or from the National Ministry of Social Development?
Unfortunately, Chair, no. We received a communication from them, and they said that they will not be able to attend the meeting today.
Okay, so SASSA has sent us a communication to say that they will not be able to attend the meeting. Yes, who is that?
Member Philander, Chairperson. Chair,
Yes,
to you. Thank you, Chairperson. Considering what was informed just now, did the agency provide any reasons as to why they could not attend this committee?
I'm getting to that. So I'm going to share, members. I'm not sure if I've sent this to all of you, but if I share my screen with you, you will be able to see the letter that I received from the regional executive manager of SASSA in the Western Cape. So as you may remember, we have a fairly good relationship with SASSA through the previous acting regional manager, Mr. Henry de Graaf, who has previously briefed this committee and has provided information to our procedural officer. And what has subsequently transpired is that SASSA has reorganized the entire national structure, and the Western Cape no longer has its own regional manager. The Western Cape has now been lumped with the Eastern Cape and the Northern Cape, and Mr. Benson Makatuka is the new regional executive manager. And this is the letter that I received from Mr. Makatuka to say that he refers to the letter and he's consulted with the CEO of SASSA regarding our invitation to SASSA to brief the Western Cape Provincial Parliament Standing Committee on Social Development on what percentage of the wasteful expenditure occurred in the Western Cape. And he says, I must kindly note that SASSA is a national implementing agency of the Department of Social Development and reports directly to the Minister of Social Development, who in turn accounts to the National Parliament and the National Council of Provinces. And he'd like to respond that I write directly to the Minister in that regard, and he's transmitted the same communication to the Minister. Just in terms of the procedure that we follow when we invite agencies or officials from departments, we always invite and include the Minister as well. And Nomonde must correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember we sent a letter to the Minister as well, asking the Minister to attend this meeting as well, and for the Minister to allow for SASSA to present to us. So SASSA has now said that they don't account to us, but they account to the National Minister, and the National Minister accounts to the National Assembly. So it's quite an interesting turn of events. And there was an email that was sent from SASSA, and I'm just trying to find it. And Wanda, you might just want to help me. There was an email sent from, oh, here we go. I've got it. So we received an email, Nomonde received an email on the 6th of July from Mr. Clive Jansen, who is the Manager Executive Support for SASSA in the Western Cape. He said that the matter has been referred to the head office for approval, and they would not be able to honor the invitation unless approval is obtained. Now, it's very interesting that an agency entrusted with spending public money is saying that they don't account to Parliament of the People. And it's sad that we've got colleagues from the AG here, but we don't have colleagues from the departments that are actually spending the money and implementing the programs. Member Mackenzie, I see your hand.
And yes, Chairperson, I'm actually happy that you shared that correspondence, and I do find it the response actually quite appalling, to say the least, because we have previously interacted with them since I've been a member the last 6 years. So this new type of response, it's actually appalling and frankly just plain disgusting, and we really need to find a way of dealing with it appropriately, because SASSA, as you rightfully say, there's 1.3 million people in the Western Cape receiving support from them, and their response is just plain ridiculous. Thank you, Chairperson.
I was muted there, sorry. I thank you for that response, Member Mackenzie. As a committee, I think we really need to look at how we're going to deal with this, because national ministers and agencies of government still has a responsibility to account to the people. And this Parliament is one of those mechanisms. And it's ridiculous, especially during the current social welfare crisis that we have, where an agency that has not been able to spend money appropriately, where there seems to be no consequence management, saying to us, no, that they don't report to us, they report directly to the Minister. And the Minister has not responded to any of the correspondence that I've written to her since I've been in this role. I see Member Baku Force is here. Welcome, Member Baku Force. I see your hand is up, ma'am. We can't hear you, Member Baku Force.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, Member.
Sorry, I'm not well. I'm coming from the doctor, but I'm trying my best. Sorry. What I'm trying to say is that, no, man, what's going on here?
We can hear you,
Member.
Can you hear me?
Yes. You can turn the video off, and then the connection will be stronger.
Hello. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Member, we can hear you.
Can
go
you
ahead.
hear me now? I'm sorry about
Yes,
the
we can.
camera. I didn't see that it's on because I'm still, I just went straight to bed. I'm coming from the doctor. I'm sorry about the camera. Yeah, what I'm trying to say, honorables, I know SASSA and NDA is accounting to the national, but as they are working for all provinces, I think we do have a right to question them. I think our chairperson must again write to the minister and clarify that, because really we need to speak to SASSA as the members of legislature. Yeah, let me pause there. I'm not well. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Bakopakos. If you are not well as well, Member, please feel free to go back to sleep since you've been to the doctor. We don't want you to exert yourself during this meeting. We do have Member Barnes here as well, who will ably be able to represent the ANC as well. But I do agree with you, and I will be writing to Minister Zulu, asking for clarity on this and asking whether the minister can make herself available as a matter of urgency, because SASSA has presented to this committee before, and Mr. de Graas, when he was the acting regional manager for SASSA in the Western Cape, he was here just a few weeks ago. But we shall move on from that, members. And we're now going to, we've got, since SASSA is not able to attend our meeting, and they've just shown us complete disregard, we've got some other work that we can get through. If the colleagues from the AG would like to depart, you're more than welcome to do that. We're going to move on and consider and adopt the draft committee reports for our meeting that took place on the 19th of May, the meeting of the 26th of May, and the meeting that took place on the 9th of May, 9th of June, and then colleagues will also have received the committee's annual report for the 2019-20 financial year, as well as our quarterly reports for the period January to March 2020, as well as April to June 2020, as well as the committee tracking report. Colleagues, are you happy with us to move over in that order?
Agree, Chair.
Thank you. And then those colleagues from the AG, you're more than welcome to leave if you want to go. But you're also happy to stay if you're interested in our business. Members, we're now going to the minutes of the 19th of May. It was a meeting that took place via Microsoft Teams. Nomonde, are you able to share the minutes, or would you like me to do it?
You can share, Chairperson.
Okay, so if everybody's able to see the screen, this is page 1 of the minutes. It's got the members present.
Yes, that's fine.
Are there any corrections or that needs to be made on page 1?
No, Chair.
And this is page 2. We had a briefing by the Department of Social Development on their quarterly performance report. Any additions or corrections on page 2? Moving on to page 3. Page 3 lists all of our requests for information. Members, are we happy to adopt the minutes of the 19th of May?
Move for adoption, Chair, Wendy Philander.
Thank you, Member Philander. Do we have a seconder? Would anyone like to second that?
I second, Chair.
Thank you very much. We haven't had Parliament in a while. Everybody's still asleep. Then I'm now moving on to the minutes of the 26th of May. I'm just trying to pull that up on the screen. So the 26th of May, we've got page 1. Any amendments or additions on page 1? Page 2. This was the meeting where DSD presented the registration, funding, monitoring and evaluation process for non-profit organizations in the province. Members happy for us to adopt the minutes as is?
Chairperson.
Yes, Member Philander.
Chair, can I ask for the procedural officer to kindly review my attendance for this meeting, and then I move for adoption, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. That's noted.
Okay.
And Member Barnes, are you going to second that? Member Mackenzie seconds. Thank you. The minutes are then so adopted. We're then going on to the minutes of the 9th of June. And this was a joint meeting between the Standing Committee on Social Development and the Committee on Premier and Constitutional Matters. And this was where we were introduced to the new Commissioner for Children, Ms. Christina Nomdo, and we were given an update by the Department of the Premier on the setup of the Commissioner's office, and we were given some insight into the strategic intent of the work that the Commissioner hopes to do. So page 1, we've got the members present there. Page 2. Page 3. And then on page 3, we have the information requested by the committee, and most of that information have been provided to us, and members would have received that via email. Can I have someone to move the minutes for adoption?
Chairperson.
Yes, member.
Chair, I did not note my name either in attendance or apology. Can the PO kindly review this as well?
Yes, we can. I wonder if we can
Thank
check when the member Philander was there, and then member Philander moves the minutes for adoption.
Chair.
A second.
Thank you very much, Member Mackenzie. So that means that our set of 3 sets of minutes have now been adopted. Members, you would have also received the annual report for this committee. And I've got it on the screen there, the annual report, which is the annual activity report of the Standing Committee. And there we've got the members of the committee. And Namonde, if I could just check on here the members. Are these, so these are all the members that are listed as ATC permanent and alternate members for our committee?
Yes, Chair. Let me see. Can't see.
Okay, so we just have to double check that member Brinkhuis, whether he needs to be included in this as well, because I don't see his name there. But I do see member Makamba Pointer. So members, this you would have read this document, I'm assuming, but this document is really interesting in that it lists our achievements since the start of our term. And I have to say, I'm very proud that we've conducted, we've had 25 meetings, 3 public hearings, 3 different oversight visits. We've considered 3 pieces of provincial legislation, and we've had 15 committee briefings, and we've had 1 workshop. So we've certainly been very busy as a committee. So just looking at the reports, and we're now on page 2. And then we're now on page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Members, are you happy for us to adopt the annual report?
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Mackenzie. And we're now moving on to our quarterly report. And this is the quarterly report for January to March 2020. And just list there the details of the committee and our mandate. That's page 1. Page 2, we just have to correct there that I'm not the chairperson of the that has oversight of the Department of Health, but the committee of the Department of Social Development. And now we are on page 3, which lists our activities. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6 and 7. Page 8, which lists the attendance of members. Page 9. So that is our report. Namonde, do we have to adopt these reports as well? Or is it just for noting?
Yes, Chair, it needs to be adopted.
Members, may I get a proposer and a seconder for the adoption of our quarterly report for January to March 2020?
Yes, Chairperson.
Propose adoption, Chair.
We've got a proposer and a seconder in member. There we go. So propose either member Philander or member Mackenzie, and then the seconder is member Ayanda Barnes. We now move on to the quarterly report for April to June. And we are there now on page 1, which is just the same particulars as before. Page 2, and I'm just going to make the same correction that it's not the Department of Health, but the Department of Social Development. It's a typo there. And then on page 3, it lists our committee meetings held in this quarter, and we had 4 meetings. And we're now on page 5. We're on page 6. And there again, we've got the attendance of members on the table. Page 6 and then page 7 lists our expenditure. Members, can I get a proposer and a seconder for these for the quarterly report for April to June 2020?
Chairperson.
Yes, Member Philander.
I move for adoption, Chairperson, considerate of the comments made earlier in terms of the review of the attendance, Chairperson, of myself. Thank you.
Okay, yes. The procedural officer will check that and we will correct it. Can we have a seconder for that quarterly report for April to June?
A second.
Thank you very much. Then, members, the next document that we have as well that you would have received via email a few weeks ago is our Tacking Document. And this is, I think, attached as an extra A on our committee annual report. And this just lists the visits that the committee undertook and the activities and what our recommendations and resolutions are and whether we still have anything outstanding. So the first one was our oversight visit on the 12th of February to the Office of the Department of Social Development in Vredendal, and we've received quite a lot of information around that, and that has been closed. This next one was our oversight visit to the Clan William Child and Youth Care Centre, and that's was also included in the report that the cluster chairperson, Member Mackenzie, put together. And then on page 6, we had the deliberation on the vote for the Department of Social Development, vote 7, was also closed. And then on the 19th of May, we had a briefing by the department on the annual, on the quarterly performance reports. And then we had our meeting on the 26th, where we learned about how DSD manages the process of onboarding and registering NGOs in the province. Then on the 9th of June, we had that joint meeting with the Committee on Premier and Constitutional Matters, where the Commissioner for Children was introduced, and we have received information as requested from the Department of the Premier. Members, are we happy to adopt this tracking document as well?
Yes, Chairperson.
Second that.
I think the members missed the coffee and the snacks that are available. Otherwise, everybody would have been awake still. So remember, that takes care of some of the administration. I've had my first cup of coffee, so I'm awake, I think, for the next sort of 2 hours still. But the next item, members, I'd like to table the Social Assistance Amendment Bill. It's a Section 76 bill that is currently serving in the NCOP. And I'm tabling it before the committee just to inform the committee that the bill was referred to the committee on Friday, the 27th of June, in accordance with Rule 217 of the Standing Rules of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. For the NCOP bill, because it's an NCOP bill, we have to adhere to the NCOP 6-week cycle in terms of dates and how we're processing this piece of legislation. We haven't received the NCOP programs with dates for this bill. However, we're going to start this process by getting a briefing by the National Department of Social Development on the bill. And that briefing is scheduled for Tuesday, the 28th of July, from 1400 hours to 1600 hours. And then in that meeting, we can decide on the public hearing and public participation process for that specific piece of legislation. Members, are you happy with that?
Yep.
Yes, Chair.
Chairperson.
Also noting that our next meeting, we will be having the public hearings on the Western Cape repeals bills. So that will be next week, Tuesday. Members, I just want to check before we close, are there any resolutions or recommendations that we should take note of?
Chairperson, if I may.
Yes, Member Mackenzie.
Chairperson, can you perhaps just give a clear guidelines for the committee on the way forward with regards to SASSA? Thank you.
I'd like to propose, members, that I will write to Minister Zulu as well as to the Chief Executive Officer of SASSA and ask them to please clarify their position and just to confirm whether the position of the new regional manager is the official position of the department as well as SASSA, and then ask them sort of why they haven't responded. I also think that as a committee, we need to sort of make it very clear that we take irregular expenditure very seriously, and I'd like to, with your permission, issue a press statement just reminding members of the public what SASSA's role is in this province and the responsibility to that 1.3 million recipients of SASSA services, and also just indicate that SASSA, they were invited to this meeting and they chose not to honor that, and we haven't received any response from the minister as well to any of the other letters as well. So that's the course of action that I'd like to propose. And then, members, because we are meeting next week Tuesday, I'd like to give the minister an opportunity to respond by Monday. And if the minister hasn't responded by Monday, we can then decide on Tuesday what the next steps are.
Thank you, Chairperson. I in concurrence with that. Chairperson, may I ask perhaps that you copy the Deputy President, because he's the lead of government business responsible for ensuring the minister attend to the request from parliaments in this country. Thank you.
Chair, if I might also add as well, if I may add, what I would want to know also is, given the information that we have currently, that the minister already knows about this communication and ignoring it, can you also put to the letter that we would want to know from minister what the way is to communicate? Maybe there's a new way that we don't know. She should tell us how do we get in contact with her and with the SASSA as well. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, fair enough.
Thank you, Member. I'll note that. Member Bakubakufos, I see your hand.
No, Chair, let me
Member Bakubakufos, are you still there? Okay, no, member's not there. Nomonde, is there anything else that I've perhaps missed?
Nothing, Chair. You have covered everything.
Thank you very much, members. We did very well for our first meeting back since constituents. It only took us about 41 minutes or so. I was really looking forward to hearing what SASSA's plans were to arrest the sort of serious challenges that they currently have, and to perhaps better understand how they are implementing corrective measures. But we live in hope. Members, are there anything else from your side before I close the meeting?
Nothing, Chairperson. Thank you for the meeting.
Nothing, Chair. Thank you.
Members, with that, thank you very much. The meeting is then closed. Member Baku Force, please take it easy, and we wish you well in your recovery.
Yes, take it easy, member.
Keep well, member.
Goodbye, members. I'll see you all probably later or tomorrow in the other meetings.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye.
Bye.
One day, will you stay behind?
Yes, Chair.
We can have coffee.
That will be great.
So, Namonia, I just wanted to check, do you have time to write that letter, or do you want me to write it?
I think, Chair, it would be nice for you to write it, because I really don't know now what to say to them.
You've written all the others, they just ignore you.
Yes, but when it comes into SASSA of lately, it seems as if when it comes to especially when it comes into them coming to the province to account, we have been getting challenges. I remember in the previous parliament, where we wanted them to come for, remember that SASSA saga for the grant, where there were unlawful deductions for grants. They were, we requested them to come and brief the committee. They came to brief the committee, and there was supposed to be a follow-up meeting on that now to give a progress as to what has happened ever since that first briefing. And the former minister refused and said that no, they do not account to us. Therefore, if we want to get an update on that matter, we must request the MEC to brief the standing committee. So I don't know as to what is the way forward. Maybe we must just send that letter to Minister Zulu. Then if maybe that fails, then we can ask now our legal advisor to assist the committee.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, no, I remember in the last parliament, Minister Maluski Gaba was summoned. So if we need to, we can issue a subpoena if they want us to do that.
Yeah.
We've got that legal authority.
Yeah, but that will be a last resort.
We'll copy in the deputy president, as Member Barnes and Member Mackenzie suggested.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Cool.
Okay, I'll write that now, and I'll send it to you for review, and you can let me know. And,
okay.
And I'm going to issue a press statement.
Okay. Because really, I don't know.
Otherwise, are you well?
Sorry?
Otherwise, are you well?
Yes. Yes, I am, but Asirat is still recording there. So we must not talk everything online, on live.
Otherwise, everything will be on. We'll have a catch up.
Yeah, offline.
No, we'll have a catch up later.
Okay,
but have a good day and stay safe.
Okay, Chair. Thanks for everything.
As well.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, bye.
Bye.